students, welcome to today's class. This is Susmita welcoming you to Science with Susmita. Today we will discuss some new concepts of science. Come, let us start. Ions. Ions are charged particles, or we can say when an atom attains a charge, it becomes an ion. So as we know, atoms are electrically neutral. If we talk about an atom, it has the equal number of protons and electrons. That means equal positive and negative charge. So atom is electrically neutral. Now, when there is an imbalance between positive and negative charges, then an atom attains a charge. And such charged atoms are called ions. Now let us understand how they attain these charges. Take the example of, say, oxygen. Now when we talk about oxygen, the atomic number of oxygen is 8. So if we go for its electronic configuration, it is 2, 6. K shell has 2 electrons and L shell has 6 electrons, whereas we know that L shell can accommodate 8 electrons. Means it can get or it can place 2 more electrons in its L shell. So what will oxygen try to do? It will try to complete its outermost shell by borrowing 2 electrons from some other atom which is ready to lend it, which is ready to give it 2 electrons. So what will happen when it borrows, when it takes 2 more electrons? Now see, the number of protons in oxygen is 8 and number of electron was also 8. So altogether the charge was 0. But when it takes 2 more electrons, then what will happen? The number of protons now remains 8, while the number of electrons becomes 8 plus 2, that is minus 10. So what will happen? The difference is minus 2. So we say oxygen becomes 2 negative. This negative charged atom is called ion. Now it is not oxygen atom, but it is oxygen ion. And this type of ion which have a negative charge are called anions. So negatively charged ions are called anions. And how they attain a negative charge? They attain a negative charge by borrowing, lending, taking electrons. Now let us see how chlorine becomes an ion. Say for example, let us take chlorine atom and see what is its atomic number. The atomic number of chlorine is 17. So if we check its electronic configuration, it is 287 KLM. M shell is the outermost shell which has 7 electrons, while it can accommodate 1 more electron. So it can take 1 more electron from some other atom, and what will happen in this one? See, number of protons was 17 and number of electrons was also 17. The net charge was 0. But now when it borrows 1 more electron, proton remains 17, electrons become 18. So the net charge is minus 1. So we say chloride ion, we write it like this, Cl negative, 1 negative means negative, and this is chloride ion, or it is an anion of chlorine. Right? So this is how atoms become anions, or they attain a charge on them. Now let us see some positively charged ions. Let's take the example of sodium. Now what happens in case of sodium having atomic number 11? Now the electronic configuration will be 281. So the M shell is the outermost shell having only 1 electron. Now what is the capacity? It can accommodate 8 electrons. Now there are 2 options. Either it can add 7 electrons to become 8, or it can lose this 1 electron so that this becomes 0. So if this becomes 0, what will happen? It will have L as the last shell and it will become stable. Okay. So it has 2 options. Now what to do? See, this is a very big number. 7 electrons. Who will lend? Nobody will give 7 electrons. Instead, something which is some element or some atom which is having 7 electrons in the outermost shell, It will try to make itself complete. Why should it give? In higher class you will study that there is a lot of energy required to lose or gain electrons. So that is why a higher number of electrons cannot be given or taken, cannot be lost or gained. So what is the other option left with sodium? The option is it will go for losing one electron that is present in the outermost shell. So what will happen in the process? See, sodium, the number of protons was 11 and number of electrons was also 11. So the net charge on sodium was 0. Now what will happen? Number of proton remains 11 and number of electron becomes 10 because it is losing one electron. So minus 10. So what is the net charge? Net charge is plus 1. So sodium becomes a positive ion and we write it like this. So what are positive ions called? They are called cations. So sodium becomes a cation by losing one electron. Let us take one more example, say magnesium. Now if you talk about magnesium, the atomic number, I'm sure you all know, you must have learned atomic number of magnesium is 12. So the electronic configuration 282. Now what will it do? It will lose 2 electrons from the last shell. So the number of proton plus 12, initially it was plus 12, electron was also plus 12, the net charge was 0. But now after losing 2 electrons, it will give these 2 electrons to some other element who needs it. So what will happen? Proton remains 12, electron becomes 10, so the net charge is plus 2. Magnesium becomes a positively charged ion, a cation, and the symbol will be Mg2 positive. So you can remember that whenever any atom loses electron, it attains a positive charge, becomes a cation, and when any element gains electron, it attains a negative charge and becomes an anion. And also this charge is shown along with the number of electrons that it is losing or gaining. I would like to add one more thing here which you need to remember, because this you will need when you write the chemical formula. Remember, all the cations, that means all the positively charged ions, are metals. Means those elements which lose electrons, that is those elements which attain a positive charge, also called electropositive, they are all metals, and all which gain electrons and become anion, they are all non-metals. So by looking at, their non-metals are electronegative. So by looking at the charge on the ion, we can identify which is a metal and which is a non-metal. So students, I hope you have understood the topics that I have covered in this video. Until I come up with my next video, keep learning, enjoy learning. Thank you.